It's witchcraft.
Hi, and welcome to the Solarium, Laylla and Chelle's sun-drenched, herb-filled place of relaxation, where they can put their cursing fingers down, their basomes away, their pointy little hats up on the wall, and sit back, relax, with a little bit of cannabis, maybe some tea, a good book or two, and sometimes surprises from listeners. Today, with lots of books and oracle decks and beautiful things in front of me, I'm Laylla.
And I'm Chelle, and I'm just sitting here having a drink, having a smoke, and loving what we've got today for folks. But we got to start. Before we start our solarium, we have to start. We received a gift.
Today on our Solarium, we would like to say a huge thank you to Kat from Force of Nature Creations. Kat is a listener, and she contacted us on our Facebook, actually about a previous Solarium. We had been talking about Devin Hunter's book, Horticulture.
Don't even get me started on my plants. And if you need an update, go to the Facebook discussion group.
That's right. Back on the Broomstick podcast discussion group on Facebook, there's pictures and updates there. But she had sent us some pictures of her plants, which I enthused over. And at the same time, she also had sent pictures of these crafts that she did, these cute earrings. Now, I'm a huge fan of cephalopods. I think octopi and squids. Chelle's making a face. I think they're amazing. They're so smart. They're so cool. Really neat creatures. But anyway, she had these squid earrings, which I thought were adorable, and said so. And she offered to send us some, which is super sweet.
And actually, they're super, super cute, and I love them.
We wore them not too long ago in New York City, and we have pictures we'll post up on all the socials. So thank you so much. She wrote us this cute little letter and everything. It was just really fun.
I've never met her, but yet I have a nickname for her. I'm just calling her our Alaskan cat.
Aw, that's so sweet.
She's our Alaskan cat.
So she is Force of Nature Creations, and we'll put links and information on where you can find some cute little earrings of your own. She's got all sorts of stuff, not just cephalopods.
They're super cute, though.
They are cute. So if you'd like to be part of a Solarium, if you want to send us something, we do have a link in the show notes, and that'll give you information on how to send letters, trinkets, your crafts, whatever you'd like, and we will showcase it on a future Solarium.
We'll even take your haunted Ouija boards.
We will. We will. You know, they never did send that to me. I wonder what happened.
I know. And I was actually bummed out because I am so fuck around and find out that I just wanted to fuck around and find out with it.
If you're wondering what we're talking about, in our previous podcast called The Stoned Witches Hour, we were once written by a fan who had purchased, I believe, at a yard sale.
Like a thrift store or something?
Yeah. They'd gotten a secondhand Ouija board, and there was all sorts of crazy things that started happening once they got this Ouija board, and they wanted to send it to us. We never heard from them again. There was a little back and forth on how they could ship it to us. Everything was set, and then nothing. So if you're out there...
They literally ghosted us.
Oh, boo. That's bad. So if you're out there in corporal form, not ghost form, we're still willing to take that Ouija board off your hands.
Because we want to play with it.
That's
but
right.
Anywho. What are you smoking?
Oh my goodness. I have gone to a new dispensary up in New York State.
Oh my God, that's so funny because I started going to a different one too.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. Okay,
and
you go first.
I got myself some Girl Scout cookies, which is a good solid cultivar. Today I'm smoking an herbal blend that I got online from a company called Herbal Spirits, and it's called Floating Egyptian.
Ooh, what's in it?
It's very pretty.
Ooh, that is pretty. It looks like a loose incense, actually.
It really does. It looks kind of like potpourri or some type of loose incense. The ingredients are mullein, skullcap, blue lily, wild daga, damiana, and rose.
You always have that damn mullein.
I do. A lot of their blends do have mullein. It's an excellent base herb for smoking. It has a very pleasant taste. It's not harsh. It's very full-bodied. A lot like if you were to smoke cannabis itself. It has a similar feel in your mouth and your throat.
I've actually been using mullein a little bit more in tea.
Yes.
Kind of gives it that earthy base.
Mm-hmm.
And, not too shabby.
It's not. It's excellent in a tea, and it's just as good for you. And you're not inhaling anything in your lungs if you
I
don't want to
still forget
inhale.
to smoke it. That's the funny part. I literally forget that I have this big container of Mullen and I forget to smoke it because I'm just used to smoking my weed straight.
Yep. And I do like the
Weed
herbs
on the
quite a bit
rocks.
on the rock. What'd you say?
Weed on the rocks.
There you go. Straight. Yep. No, I like mine on the herbs, I guess. But yeah, so that's what I'm smoking today. How about you, Shell? What'd you get at your new dispensary?
So I got this called apples and bananas. And
Oh, wait, hold on. Shell's rule like 742. Does it taste like apples and bananas?
fuck no,
Oh
but
no, they broke the rule. Thou shalt not ever name a strain of cannabis after something
a
it doesn't
fruit
taste
that it
like.
don't taste like it.
That's right.
You're only going to make out with that when it comes to citrus.
Yeah, that's true. That's
You're
true.
only going to make out with that when it comes to citrus. But this is actually 39% THC and it lives up to its reputation.
Now, if something's going to be 39% THC, how crystally is it? Like how white? How many trichomes are on the outside of those nugs? And is it infused with something? Have they put a distillate on it, or is that just naturally 39%?
It's kind of white looking, and I think that they've coated it.
Okay. Now, normally, if you ask, they should disclose that. But
I
yeah,
didn't
30.
ask.
Yeah, it's okay. 39% THC, that's pretty awesome. Does it taste good?
Yeah, it gets you fucked up, not gonna lie. This is not a smoke before work weed.
There you go. That's a weekend weed right there.
This is a weekend weed.
There you
Yeah, this
go.
is a weekend weed. But for the daytime, because that is a weekend weed, for the daytime, I have what is called permanent marker. That's a good, I got shit to do today. I did have the apples and bananas before we started recording just because I wanted to be in solarium mode. But it's going to be the permanent marker. That's what I do for, I got to clean. I've got to go grocery shopping. I've got shit to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of weed. So I'm kind of bouncing between two, depending on the time of day.
Nice. Now, just as important of a question, what you drinking?
I can't lie to you people today. Today I am drinking Mexican Coke. There, I said it.
Oh, fun, right? In the glass bottles?
Glass bottle Mexican Coke.
Real sugar.
I was going to say with the real sugar.
Yeah.
I can't help it. That's where we're at today. I'm sorry I'm not drinking tea, but
That's okay.
Coke, it's the real thing.
Some days you just need that extra hit of caffeine, right?
Isn't that what the commercials used to say? Coke, it's the real thing.
I think they did. I think they did.
But this week I've been drinking a lot of iced tea because it's hotter
Mm-hmm.
than hell here. So it's not a hot tea week.
Oh no, I'm holding up right now my mason jar full of iced tea. My black tea with lemonade in it with lots and lots of ice because it's that kind of day.
Oh, you made your own half and half.
I did make my own half and half. I was starting to buy like Arizona iced tea. What's that? The Arnold Palmer. But there's so much high fructose corn syrup in that shit. Like, does anybody? I think Pure Leaf might make a tea that doesn't have it, but holy cow, that's a lot.
As I sit here drinking my Mexican Coke. But
Well, that's real
you're
sugar.
right.
That's different.
But yeah, no, you can actually, and I find I like making it better because there's certain lemonades that I like because some lemonades are just very bitter and some are more sweet. And you can kind of combine your favorite lemonade with your favorite iced tea to get that perfect half and half.
Yep, that's my favorite way, especially in the summertime. You know me and tea and lemon. I like lemon in my tea. But
Today we're going to talk about some books and some
yes.
decks that we got. And I want to kind of start with the decks because I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay, so I'm going to make a confession. All of these books and tarot decks oracle decks that we're going over today, they were sent from Red Wheel Wiser. Thank you,
Love
Erin.
them.
Love them very, very much, actually. And I asked for all of these. Shell had no input and didn't know what we were getting today. And Red Wheel Wiser works with a lot of different companies, but they themselves don't make a lot of strictly tarot decks. These are oracle decks, and I don't know if you've heard before, but Shell is not a fan. I got these knowing full well that it might be a little difficult to please Shell with them.
I try to be objective, though. I try not to infuse my lack of love for oracles in my reviews of these products. So I try to go into it with an open mind.
So we're going to start with the Wyrd Sisters, spelled Wyrd. It's by Casey Zabala. And the first thing I thought of when I saw the Wyrd Sisters was I thought of the Terry Pratchett novel, The Wyrd Sisters, one of the
Of course you
Discworld
would.
series.
Of course you would.
Kind of similar concept, the witches, the fates.
This is a deck of spells and rituals. Would we even call that an oracle deck?
She does use it as oracle. She even has in the book, she has different spreads where you can do actual oracle divination. But I like these cards more. All right, let's talk about what they look like first before we get into how we feel about them.
Well, I just want to real quick read just a part of the description on the back,
Mm-hmm.
because that kind of gives you an idea of what kind of cards these are. It is a 60 card oracle deck devoted to working with the ancient deities who dwell at the roots of the world tree and set the order of the cosmos through their spinning, weaving, and cycling of nature. So that kind of gives you like the mindset of what her vision for this deck was.
Yes, the Norns, the Wyrd Sisters are the triple goddess, like the Fates, like
Yeah.
the what is it, Clotho, Atropo, and Lachesis. I don't remember these sisters' names, but they're the three Fates, right? They spin the thread, they weave the thread, and they cut the thread of your life, of your fate. And you can kind of see that symbolism represented in the cards. Like each card has these black squiggles that go through it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that kind of represents that thread of fate. I looked through the book to see if she ever talked about what that was, because sometimes those squiggles can be a little jarring, not going to lie. I think they might be threads of fate.
Can we just talk for a minute? What the hell is going on with every deck coming out right now being gilded?
I don't know. I actually kind of hate it. Okay, hate's kind of a strong word. I don't really hate the gilding. It's just, it looks beautiful for a minute. That's all. I don't really hate it.
I feel like every deck I've gotten lately, whether it be Oracle or Tarot, every damn thing's gilded all of a sudden.
It kind of looks pretty. I think it looks pretty, but I use my decks. I shuffle them. I want to riffle through them. I want to, overhand shuffle them, spread them out on a table.
You don't know pain until you've gotten a paper cut from a gilded card.
Ooh. Plus, depending on the deck, it doesn't take very long for it to start to wear off and flake off. And then it doesn't look so pretty.
It's not good for long-term use. Yeah, it's not good for long-term shuffling, using, and handling.
Now, this particular deck, once we get into it, I would actually probably use it more for spells as opposed to shuffling it and using it as an oracle. I probably would grab one card at a time or a grouping of cards, specific cards to pull out and have on an altar or to use for meditation or for a journaling prompt. The reason is because the cards themselves are very simple. And because of that simplicity, it can really let your subconscious go when you're trying to use them for a journaling prompt. Plus, they're kind of easy to handle. But I think shape-wise, would you say these are like, I don't know what a typical Oracle deck size is, but I would say these are kind of Oracle deck size.
I was going to say typical Oracle deck size. They're kind of that fat rectangle, if that's a good description.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the basic artwork. It's nothing. It almost looks like a lot of this could have just been hand drawn. It's like this basic, great, cute, awesome artwork, and I like that about this. It's not very commercially artistic. Is that even a word?
Yeah. And what I like about that is it feels very easy to pull these cards and have it get into your subconscious. There's a card for each one of the fates, the spinner, the weaver, and the cutter.
There's a spell for everything, really. And there's also almost like it breaks down, not necessarily into suits per se, but the candle for XYZ. And then you got the sigils for XYZ, the wands for XYZ, the athames. So I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the artwork on here because it's very simple, but I'm confused by the black lines. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like there's a code in here. These black lines are some code that I'm not picking up, is how it comes across to me.
Yeah, sometimes it can be distracting. I do feel that it's probably the threads of fate. They're a little bit sigil-like.
Yeah.
They're entwined in all of it. They're wrapped through all of it in different ways. So each picture has these squiggles. You can do with those what you will. It can be a little bit jarring sometimes on the cards, but it can also give you an opportunity to work with sigils or work with other magic to follow that thread with your finger, with your eyes. It gives you another way to look at and get into the cards. And I like the simplicity of it too, because I feel like it can be very easy to meditate with these cards.
This is one of those decks where simple is more effective visually, I think.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, the simplicity of the artwork makes it way more effective. I like this. I don't know if I would use it as an oracle deck, but this could actually be a good like spell deck.
Yeah, I think this would be a great spell deck, a great meditation deck, really good for journaling, pulling a card a day and just doing intuitive journaling with it.
I love this card. I don't know if you can see it on my screen. It's the spell for courage. It's a sun with a Triskelion in the center of it. I love the card.
I like the spell for justice. It has the beehive and the infinity symbol. I
Oh
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
one. The book is pretty well written as well. It's a small book and a small box, but it gives you ideas, spell ingredients to use with each one. So because of the gilding and because of how easily I think these cards could kind of get into your subconscious to allow your intuition and your imagination to kind of run wild, I also would not use these as technically an oracle deck. I think I would pull these cards intentionally and
Right.
choose them intentionally. Like for spell work and for meditation
Or
and
like you
journaling.
said, pick a set of them and have them on the altar or something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. So for that reason, the gilding's okay because as long as it's for decoration and not for a heavy use deck, I don't mind it so much. If you're going to put this deck into heavy rotation, you might want to be a little more careful. For example, when I used to read professionally, if I was at a tarot party or a tarot event, I could read 20, 30, 50 people. And if you're shuffling each time just in one day, that's a lot of shuffling.
You're going to lose your gilding before the afternoon's out.
And then they don't look so cute and you don't want to have them in front of a client. So I don't know.
I swear everything is like that right now.
But yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It took me a second to get the hang of the squiggly black lines. Once it clicked, I think this is a solid deck and excellent use for meditation.
Now, the next wonderful treasure we got from Red Wheel Weiser, we got the Beloved Dead, an oracle for divining ancestral wisdom. This is by Carrie Paris and Tina Hart. Now, here's the surprising thing about this thing. I kind of love it. And
Yeah.
I hate oracles and we've all known this. I kind of love this Beloved Dead. I got the vibe from it, exactly what it says, an oracle for divining ancestral wisdom. And when you pick up this deck, you'll feel like, based on maybe it's the old time pictures, I don't know, but you feel like you are working with ancestors. Now, let me start with the damn thing is gilded, but here is what I love about the gilding of this particular deck. Now, if you notice, the other deck was gilded in silver. This deck is gilded in gold and it glitters. So it's almost like glittery gold gilding, and I love that.
It goes very well with the antique. This whole deck is giving antique.
Antique vibes.
Yeah, it looks old-timey, that sepia tone pictures. And so the gold gilding goes along with it very nicely.
It fits it well. Yeah.
It does. It does suit it. One of the things that struck me about this was I don't love collage decks. They're not my favorite. But I did also, like Chelle, I really, really enjoyed the look of these old-timey photograph kind of idea. And as I was reading the book, Carrie Paris, who's one of the authors of this deck, found in a notebook this old picture, this old sepia tone photograph of an older couple and an adopted child. And all the emotion in it really struck her and she needed to find out more about this picture. And so that was kind of her inspiration for this deck. You know, she really felt the spirits of those people come through that picture. And you can very much feel that in this deck. I can tell that as I use this deck more and more, it feels like you'll be able to connect with the beloved dead. It does feel like it could be an oracle that'll allow your ancestors or the spirits around you to really speak.
It does. It really does. And this one card just strikes me. The name of the card is Evermore. And it is a couple on their wedding day. And this picture was probably taken in 1905. Okay. It strikes me as reaching out to your ancestors. It's just got that ancestor look, that ancestor vibe. And this other card, Play, I can't get over this. It is a guy who's got to be probably in his 40s or 50s riding a rocking horse. I love it. But again, I've noticed that the more I play with these cards and the more I kind of touch them and shuffle them around, I almost feel like I can hear that gilding cracking. That's the disappointment.
It does look very pretty, but this deck feels like it's going to get heavy use. And
Yeah.
I like how Paris and Hart have split this up almost into suits, kind of.
It's like they're trying to cross a tarot deck and an oracle deck.
A little bit, yeah. There's the 10 cards that are active love cards. And those are like action cards. And then there's 69 cards that are the beloved dead. And they're like different aspects. Driver, haunted, hospitality, peace, that kind of thing. But there's also 2 cards. There's the Spirit Throne card and there's the Ouija card.
Which I loved both of those cards. 'Cause
Yes.
I almost feel like they're like spinning the wheel, this card, and you don't know what you're going to get. You know what I mean?
So the Spirit Throne card is an invitation. You put that card down on purpose and invite the dead to come speak to you, invite your ancestors to come.
That's actually the first card in the deck is that card.
Then the last card in the deck is the Ouija card. I love this. Now, this is a wild card. There is no meaning for this card in the book. Basically, when this card shows up, the idea is that there is a spirit there nearby waiting to speak to you, or maybe there's another question you need to ask. There's a lot of different things that it could mean. It's a wild card. Now, I'm a huge fan of adding extra cards into decks. The deck that I read professionally with for way too long was the Londa Tarot, and it has an extra card. It's the Who Are You Really card. And when that would show up, it can very much influence a reading and kind of change the whole flavor of a reading. So I'm a huge fan of having these wild card type things in a tarot deck or a divination.
Now, is everybody sitting down here? You're going to need to sit down for this one, folks. Normally, when we get oracle decks, I try to give an objective opinion, but usually in the end, Laylla and I both know that mine will probably be going into the listener giveaway pile. And it's just a thing. It's a me thing. No disrespect. But I actually am super glad that you got this deck because, like you said, you didn't ask me for any input because you know how I am.
Yeah.
I actually want to keep this deck and work with this deck. I love this. So for all you Oracle deck haters like me, the beloved dead is going to suck you in. And it's not that I hate them, and that's a strong word, because I do have 3 or 4, maybe 5 Oracle decks, unlike my couple hundred tarot decks. But this is one that I want to keep and use. Even I'm shocked.
If you are a fan of spiritualism of the mid 1800s, the early 1900s, if nostalgia is your thing, you will probably love these cards.
Yeah, this is for you.
I also love the way that Hart and Paris put this deck together because it feels like a very easy way to speak to spirit, a very, very easy way for them to give you messages, particularly if you attune this deck to you. And they go into that in the book, different ways to attune it. But I think the more that it's used and the more you use it to speak to your higher self, to speak to your guides, to speak to your ancestors, it's just going to get that much more accurate.
And they give you some really great spreads in the book. The book is done really well. And I agree with you. I think this is a deck that almost you could tailor to your ancestors. Almost like if you had a deck and you went up to your grandma and grandpa and were like, all right, so we're going to use this deck as our telephone. You know,
Right. Yeah.
I can see that in this deck, using this as a telephone to my loved ones that have passed and kind of making it that telephone for my ancestors. Yeah. Beloved Dead, I actually love it. And I know that none of us expected it, myself included, but I love this. I do. Recommend 10 out of 10.
Ding, ding, ding. Winner. I knew I'd get at least one of them that you would like. So
Your goals for this is to get me meditating, journaling, and using Oracle decks.
absolutely. And we're getting there. All right. So the next thing we have is a book. We have 3 tarot books. And the first one is a reprint, actually. This is Magical Tarot, Your Essential Guide to Reading the Cards by Madame Pamita. And it has a foreword by Matt Auren, author of Psychic Witch. Now, this book actually came out, I believe it was in 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, this was really good when it came out initially. They just reprinted it with
The foreword. And
Yeah.
who doesn't love something by Matt Auren? Matt's a great guy. Very good witch. Isn't he doing something like the Psychic Tarot? I think he has a book coming out soon, Psychic Tarot or something like that.
He's been very busy getting a lot of stuff out. Love everything he puts out, but he's got it's like Psychic Tarot or something.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
This book, freaking solid.
This is a good book. And the one thing I liked about this book is whether you had just picked up your very first tarot deck, or if you're like me and just picked up your 214th tarot deck, there's value in this book. And also, I am always a fan of supporting the Ukrainian cause, and Madame Pamita, I say that wrong. Madame Pamita is a Ukrainian American. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, she has Baba Yaga's book of witchcraft, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that. I love Baba Yaga. So do our beloved Basome makers, the hags over at Three Moon Brooms. But yeah, this book, Madame Pamita just nailed it. It's solid. Like you said, if you're a beginner and you pick up this book, it is going to help you learn the cards inside and out.
But even if you know the cards, this is still a good book to kind of circle back to some concepts and thoughts that you may have forgot, or maybe you didn't know those specific things. This is just good whether you're seasoned or brand new.
She lists out each card, and with each card, she has something called Your Adventure with that particular card. And she has a whole little write-up of the card. And it's easy to read. It's interesting. It's solid information. And then each card, she has the keys to understanding that card, which are little phrases that help you.
The keys to yeah, I like that. She calls it the keys to the treasure chest.
Right? Exactly. Even Matt Auren himself, the psychic witch himself, says that there were things in this book that he had not thought of before with tarot. So it just really has a lot of solid, good information and good exercises. I have one problem with this book, and it's the same problem that I have with a lot of tarot.
Okay. What?
I am in the camp that wands is air and swords are fire.
Well, yeah.
In this book, she says wands are fire, swords are air. And that I cannot get behind. I've tried, and I just don't see it. There is no connection for me that way.
I am in agreement with you on this. And generally, when I just see that in books like this, it's almost like my mind over the years has almost just been trained to flip it.
Yep. For the people that do it that way, it seems to work just fine for them. I'm not going to argue.
And the way we do it works for us.
Exactly.
Which is fine. But yeah, no, I don't think that jumped out at me as much because I'm just used to whenever I see that, my mind just automatically flip it without thought.
Well, Lara Tempest Zakroff agrees with us, so I'm going to say we have it right.
Right.
Just saying. But yeah, that was the only problem I had with it. And like you said, I just kind of ignore that part of it and move on because for me, swords are fire. You forge steel in fire. Trees, they breathe just like we do. They grow in the air. They reach to the sky. Wands are air. Can't change my mind. Anyway, but I love this book. Really solid. I'm happy to have this on my shelf.
Very good book. Like I said, it's good for no matter what stage you are in tarot practice.
Absolutely. And especially now that I mostly read tarot for myself, I'm mostly doing my daily card pulls. This is really nice to pull out and look at because when I'm looking at these daily pulls, I'm thinking more about what jumps out at me. What connections am I making? not necessarily what is the literal historical definition of this card. And so
Right.
using someone else's deck can really help you get out of a rut, can help you get into your own intuition, can really help you determine how you personally feel about that card and the images that are there. So grabbing a book like Magical Tarot and seeing how she interprets these cards, which they're pretty standard Rider-Waite-Smith interpretations, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You can just see someone's different angle on a tried and true interpretation. It's nice to get that different perspective. So I really enjoyed her view of the cards.
What I like about that is, I might have a particular view about a certain card, but then I read a new person's definition and I might pick up a tidbit or two of their perspective of that card because it was something that never dawned on me before.
Yeah, you might see
I
something in
mean,
a new angle.
right, right, right. And that's another reason why, short tangent here, folks. That's another reason why I love all different tarot decks and why I'm an obsessed tarot
Same.
collector.
Yeah.
Because different images for a card can provoke different thoughts for that meaning. We all know what the Three of Swords means, but maybe the artwork in this one particular deck is going to add some dimension to that meaning. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's why I like different decks.
Phyllis Curot's is The Witch's Wisdom Tarot is still one of my absolute favorites because it's a reimagining of the suits, of the meanings of the cards. It's a little more modern. Pamela Coleman Smith that did the artwork for the RWS decks that we know, that was what, in the early 1900s, and shit's basically stayed the same. She did that all herself. Like the old regular suits cards basically had no pictures. She's the
Right.
one that decided to put the pictures there. And granted, she did that with a lot of symbolism and forethought and history,
But that was
but
1800s symbolism and forethought, and
right, right. I love the reimagining. I love witches and people who are coming out with these new decks with their perspective and adding so many new layers and new things to it. But it's still nice to have a grounding in the solid, accepted meanings. There's something to be said for archetypal images that get into our collective subconscious, and these cards have been around for a minute. They are in our witchy subconsciousness.
Right, right, right.
Something to work off of, a framework to go from.
Now, speaking of someone solid, I am going to quick bounce to this next book. I was so flippin' happy that you got this. And the reason why is I love Theresa Reed.
Yeah.
So this is a tarot guidebook, The Cards You're Dealt, How to Deal When Life Gets Real by Theresa Reed. This is the book for all those folks who are scared when the cards give you the Tower card. Pull out this book.
This is also the book for someone who doesn't know what to say when the tower comes down for a client or for someone that they're reading, their best friend, their parent, their sibling. As a reader, if you don't know what to say to them in that situation, this is definitely the book for you. I could have used this book a couple years ago. I had a lot of losses in my life. And this is a guidebook on when you're having a tough time, if you have lost people in your life, if you are grieving, this is a book that will help walk you through that with tarot. Life is not always butterflies and roses, and shit goes bad. Right now, we are living in the fucking tower time. Shit's going bad. People are scared. And so this book is perfect for right now. It really gives you tools on what to say to yourself, what to say to someone who's come to you for a reading that's having a difficult time.
And I think that was kind of the perspective I kind of took this book from and really liked was you've been in that situation with me before. You don't want to tell someone the shitty side of what their reading says. Especially if it's a friend or someone you don't want to be like, hey, so there's a shit storm coming your way and there's no umbrella that's going to protect you.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you an idea of sometimes how to soften the blow with your tarot readings.
I was given a piece of advice years ago when I first started reading professionally. Someone is sitting across from me and has given me something in energy exchange for this reading. They deserve the truth. They deserve and are asking for exactly what the cards are saying.
That's easier to say than it is always to do.
100%. 100%. It is very difficult when you're looking at the cards and you're seeing infidelity, you're seeing loss, you're seeing grief. It can be very, very difficult to
And
say
then you
that to
got someone
someone.
sitting 2 feet away that you got to look in the eye and tell all that shit to.
Exactly.
This book is perfect for dealing with that type of reading, that type of situation. So I kind of took it from more of the professional reading perspective.
She has information in here for how to help someone who's grieving, not just tarot, but practical things on how to help them when they're grieving.
Right.
This book was definitely an interesting read from start to finish. She also goes over the cards themselves and talks about how they may relate to difficult times, how it might mean something difficult, how to deal with the Nine of Swords. What does that mean?
Right.
Just really good. If you are a professional reader, if you read for anyone other than yourself, or even if you want a deeper understanding of how to be nicer to yourself or, how to read difficult things for yourself, this is a great book.
And of course, she gives you different spreads, different tarot rituals, different exercises. I'm always a fan of tarot exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you are a journaly person like Layla, there are journal prompts in there too.
There are.
But this is a solid book for how to deal with tarot when it's not all sunshine and roses.
Mm-hmm.
Because tarot is not all sunshine and roses.
Yeah, especially if you're reading for the public, you are going to run into, everybody's dealing with something difficult. It's not all going to be,
Right.
when is my true love coming? It's
Right.
going to be, why did my dad die?
Right. And that is why this book rock solid, 10 out of 10 for me. I love it. And again, Theresa
Yeah.
Reed is fabulous.
5 brooms up. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So that one totally recommend.
Now we're going to get to probably the hardest book, the meatiest book.
Yeah.
This one's called Tarot for the Hard Work, an archetypal journey to confront racism and inspire collective healing. And it's by Maria Minnis. And all I can say is, wow.
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 Yeah.
This is a good book, but I'm not going to lie. It's a difficult book. There's work to be done. It's not something that you're just going to read cover to cover.
I had to talk to you about this book before we recorded, and I'm going to be honest with our listeners right up front. I almost felt like, I don't want to say I was being personally attacked by this book, but kinda. And to give you a backstory of why I felt that way, I was raised in a very typical for the times atmosphere. Unfortunately, racism was very deep in my family history,
Mm-hmm.
and the area I am from was a kind of a more heavily racist area. So honestly, through no fault of mine or the author, I felt like this book was attacking me.
When we talked about it, I was like, and that's exactly why we need this book because it's heavy. You cannot just read this book straight from cover to cover. It is a workbook. It is
Yeah,
definitely a
yeah,
workbook. Each chapter is walking through the tarot, going through this archetypal journey to confront those parts of ourselves, the racism that we might not even know is there.
right.
My ex stepfather was also highly racist, highly misogynistic, not a great person. And sometimes I still hear his voice in my head, and I have to fight against that reaction because I know how he would react. It's not how I want to react or even how personally I would think, but the impressions from my childhood are still in there. The things that my ex stepfather would say are still in my head, even when I'm not realizing it.
Yeah, when you're raised around that and that's all you hear all the time, it doesn't necessarily reflect, like you said, it's not how you want to feel, but that man's voice just keeps coming in your head with those responses.
Yeah, and so this book really helps you to identify and work through that. And I love tarot. Like you said, any workshop with tarot, I'm there. You're there.
All over it.
It
All over
really
it.
helps,
This is definitely some deep, hard, dark shadow work book.
but so good.
Valuable, necessary, worth it,
Absolutely.
fulfilling. They don't call it tarot for the hard work because it's sunshine and butterflies here.
Right, exactly.
All of the different exercises and things that you can go through in this, they're work, but it's working to make a better collective, make you a better person and make you a better person in the community.
Each chapter is broken up into, it goes through the major arcana, just like, your typical fool's journey.
Right.
And each one starts with a quote, and then there's embodied keywords, and it tells you how to find inspiration here and how it might look in your life.
You know what I like about this is the little sections after each card and building a toolkit. You know what I don't like about books like this?
What's that?
I don't like to write in books. I feel like it's
I love
sacrilege.
it.
This book makes me want to write in it, and that feels so wrong to me.
Even simple things like that, sometimes you have to break out of those old habits to learn new things. So maybe if you're not
the damn book,
write in the book, break that rule. But yeah, I mean, the building a toolkit part was one of my favorites because there's things in here like for the devil card, they talk about combating police brutality, and it gives you questions to go look. Maybe these are things, like we were saying, maybe these are things you never thought of before. With the previous book, Madame Pamida's, it gave us ideas that we hadn't thought of, a different perspective. And so these questions for the devil are like, what is last year's racial breakdown of people killed by police? And especially in places where I lived, like Rochester, New York, their racism is rampant. Some of the historical racism there, redlining, is very deep and goes back really far and has caused so many problems. This can really help you take a look at your area and see what things are like there. But yeah, this is a shadow book. It is not a book that you're going to read cover to cover. It is a book that's going to take time. It's a book that I had to kind of put down because I had to do a little bit of it and then I had to put it down and reflect and journal a little bit and work through some of the ideas and some of the information that was presented in this book. There's a lot of thinking that goes along with this,
Yeah, this book is intense and it involves you to do some soul searching and some thinking. This isn't a book to just teach you how to read tarot.
This is a powerful workbook to help you heal things in yourself, to help you, show up better in the world.
Yeah, be a better global citizen. But I think that Maria Minnis knocked it out of the park with this book. But again, go into it knowing it's heavy.
Go into it knowing that it is a workbook, that it requires you to sit, to actually do the work. Get your hands dirty. It's well worth it. I think it's well crafted, well thought out. I really liked the correspondences that they went through with each of the cards.
Right.
Good stuff.
I think all three of these books were fabulous. Mm-hmm. All fabulous. I am delighted with my surprise. I knew you knew what it all was. It was all a surprise to me, and I was delighted with it. Folks may find my Wyrd Sisters Oracle in a future listener giveaway, but the Beloved Dead in these three books knock it out of the park for me. Fantastic. So you win. I like an Oracle deck. You win. Yay. Fine.
Honestly, I wasn't sure if you were going to like either of them. So the fact that I got a 50-50 shot here, I will take it. I'll absolutely take it.
I'll tell you, I was thinking you were going to bat 0. Okay. I was like, oh God, Laylla got Oracle decks. Here we go. But those pictures, they scream ancestral work, and I love them.
They really do. There's something about those old photographs. You can't help but look at that sepia-toned old photographs of people and just feel connected to your ancestors, feel connected to spirit, and feel connected to the past. They seemed more powerful sometimes than modern photography. More, I don't know, like more energy coming off of them. Not sure.
Yeah, and the Theresa Reed book, I love that perspective of sometimes you get shit cards and you got to deal with shit situations.
Yeah, sometimes life is going to deal you that crappy hand and there's nothing else to do but get through it.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And times are difficult right now. So I think we all, we need to connect with our ancestors, get with our subconscious with the Wyrd Sisters, and do the hard work, I think.
So I would like to give a shout out and an extra special thank you to Red Wheel Wiser for this month's Solarium products. We love you. You rock.
Erin, you're the best.
Erin is the best. Duh.
All right. Well, my tea is empty. My bowl is empty. And I I'm definitely itching to get my hands back on this beloved dead deck. So
All right.
thank you all so much for joining us here in the Solarium. And keep an ear out because there might be a few more of these Solariums coming up this month. Maybe a couple more surprises too. But we will talk to you all next time. So stay wise, stay wicked.
And keep it witchy.